Hey everyone, Chris Carter here from the Locked On Steelers podcast. It's the Friday episode. Tomorrow, the Steelers play some football. Preseason, but still football. We'll get you ready with a preview of that game, including all the players who are and aren't supposed to play, and also a look at why Cam Heyward's asking for a restructured or new contract. We'll talk about all of that and more of what we've seen at Steelers training camp here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And let's dive into things that we got to talk about here. First, preseason game is tomorrow night, 7 p.m. in Jacksonville. And I won't be there. I will be in Pittsburgh trying to catch up on some rest after training camp. We have two more practices left to cover, Monday and Tuesday. The Steelers break camp Wednesday, and then there will be the joint practice against the Buccaneers next Thursday at Acrisure Stadium. But as of right now, we now know that the Steelers are going to rest the majority of their stars and starters for this upcoming game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, Isaac Seumalo, Jaylen Warren, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, Joey Porter Jr., Deshaun Elliott, Patrick Queen, Chris Boswell, Nick Herbig, TJ Watt, Cam Heyward. None of them are set to play per Mike Tomlin, as he said in his press conference on yesterday, Thursday. And it shouldn't be too much of a surprise because the Steelers have had a very physical training camp. They're giving these guys basically the weekend off. Some of those guys didn't even practice. Like I think Jonnu Smith sat out the most of practice on Thursday. Jalen Ramsey hasn't practiced for a bit. But it shouldn't be a shock that they're doing this. Aaron Rodgers even said as much during our Wednesday talk with him about how preseason is less. You don't really see much about preseason. It's more about getting guys reps that you need to see reps from. And a lot of those guys that we named there aren't guys that the Steelers need to see too much from at this point. I'd say maybe the two involved there might be a Jaylen Warren or a Nick Herbig or a Joey Porter Jr. because they're on the younger side. But like Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, all those types of guys, they're good. They're good to go. TJ Watt, you definitely don't need. Patrick Queen, you don't need. But I do think it opens up some opportunities to see other guys flourish. And that's what I want to talk about in this episode a little bit on top of what we're seeing in training camp. Now, I want to further emphasize the stuff that I've been saying this week. It continued. The offense won their third straight 7 shots of training camp. They hadn't won 2 in a row before this week. And they looked smooth again. And targeting the middle part of the field, using Aaron Rodgers to kind of just pick apart what the Steelers defense was trying to disguise and do. And you're starting to see chemistry get built with the different receivers in the offense, whether it's DK Metcalf, whether it's Roman Wilson, whether it's Scotty Miller. Now, I will say, there should be some concern for Calvin Austin. As I said before about the injuries the Steelers have right now, it's weird to me that Calvin Austin's not back out there, considering he's in a prove-it year. I thought this was a year to get him more exposure. So if he's sitting out, there's something going on there. We'll see if he's back in time for a preseason game, or if this is more of a heading into the regular season type of injury, because we're presuming it's something along those lines. But when it comes to the offense and the passing in the middle part of the field, I talked about this yesterday, but it continued to get reinforced by just what I'm seeing at practice. And we had a chance to talk to Scotty Miller before practice, and even then he was talking about how Aaron Rodgers is fitting exactly what Arthur Smith has been wanting to do with this offense, and how Aaron Rodgers kind of boosts it with his way to beat defenses and manipulate defenders. Here was Scotty Miller when I asked him about that.
It seems like Arthur Smith is layering a lot of the concepts, passing over the middle part of the field. If there's a deep guy coming, there's also one of you guys running like a shallow cross or a slant underneath. How have you seen that develop with Aaron in camp as you guys have continued to grow that chemistry?
Yeah, Aaron's been one of the best I've ever seen in these last couple of practices, just being able to manipulate defenders in the middle of the field, look guys off, and hit those intermediate routes. So it's been special to watch, and you might be surprised running over the middle, not thinking you're going to get it. He'll move the linebacker and hit you right in the hole. So it's been fun.
So I think it's been interesting to see this because this has been the thing in the Steelers offense that people have been wondering, why don't they pass to the middle part of the field? And they haven't been. Last year, I believe they ranked second to last in passing attempts, completions, and passing yards when targeting the left middle, the middle, and the right middle parts of the field, poor sports, information sports. Now, the crazy thing is the team that ranked below them was the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. But that's not relevant to what it's coming here. The reason is they're having confidence in Aaron Rodgers to run this offense, to take the shots, to make the smart decisions with the football. And that, to me, is an encouraging sign for what this offense can do. But it must be compounded with good offensive line play. A, to give Aaron Rodgers time with the football, time in the pocket to make those decisions, and B, to be able to run the football. And I'll say again, the offensive line continues to look better, and especially Broderick Jones. I thought he had a really good practice. I've said earlier this week that I thought he was having good practices. I think he's now stacking good practices because on Thursday when I was looking at him, there were like at least 3 straight reps where he kept taking on guys like Y.A. Black. He took on Nick Herbig. He took on guys. I even saw him take on T.J. Watt and not lose that one. There were 3 straight reps where I was like, wow, he looked really good in his footwork and his hand placement, and he looked comfortable in what he was doing in pass pro. Those are really good signs for Broderick Jones. Now, he has to do it in a game. It doesn't mean that it's all done. He's ready to be an all-pro offensive tackle. None of that. But I did like the signs that I saw from him in this practice. And if he's able to replicate that moving forward, I do think that that's a good sign that the Steelers offensive line might be further along than we realized when we were looking at these earlier practice and training camp. But all of that, I think, are good suggestions that the Steelers are going to get a good look at things. Now, it's important to note who the Steelers are playing in this game, because they're playing basically that whole offensive line minus because of experience. They're playing that whole defensive line minus Cam Heyward for his experience. But it's going to be interesting to see the push people back with their defensive line, to push people and to control the line of scrimmage with their offensive line. If they're able to do those things, then I think that they're going to set things up on defense. If teams can't run the ball on them, it's going to put them in a position to be able to rush the passer a lot more effectively on second and third downs. It's also going to limit teams from being able to run the ball, which forces them to be more one-dimensional. It's also going to make it easier for coverage to make plays on the ball. But on top of that, if the Steelers' offensive line is running the football, then those middle-of-the-field concepts that Aaron Rodgers really wants to hit, they're going to be that much more open because teams are going to be so concerned about the run. If they're effective with it, they're like, we have to really be worried about Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson. Also, Caleb Johnson looking pretty good in camp right now, by the way. And if they're so worried about them, then those play action, those concepts over the middle where there's a guy that runs a shallow cross and the running back runs like a Texas route over the middle, but the tight end runs a deep seam, or the receiver runs a deep post from the outside that goes towards the middle. Those things where then all of a sudden the linebackers and safeties are going to be in a guessing game. They're going to jump. Are they going to jump up too quickly on the run? Are they going to jump on the running back coming out of the backfield? Are they going to jump on the short underneath route? Or are they going to stay back and cover the deep route? And those are the things that can catch defenses way off guard and put you in a good position. That's where I think that the Steelers are looking at right now as far as trying to balance things out. And that's why you want to see this offensive line play in this game. And if they're able to do that, I think that's a good sign moving forward. But that's one of the things that you're looking for here. Not necessarily, for the crazy schematics to pop up now, because again, Aaron Rodgers isn't even going to be playing. But you want to see some chemistry from this offensive line. You want to see Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick double team some guys off the ball. Same thing for Mason McCormick and Troy Fautanu. To double team some guys off the ball, create some space in the run game, and let that get loose. Spencer Anderson has been filling in a lot at left guard for Isaac Seumalo. Him and Broderick Jones, if they can pair up and do some things, those are things that I think are key to what the Steelers need to see in the preseason opener. But we'll talk more about that in the final segment of the show when we give our full preseason preview of their upcoming game against the Jaguars. But we still got big news to talk about, because that Cam Heyward situation blindsided all of us when we did not see that coming. And I want to talk about why we didn't see that coming and why or why not it is a big deal for Steelers fans to be talking about right now. We'll talk about that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you that this show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place so you can stop managing your money and start actually building wealth. If you're like me, you probably have a lot of subscriptions and you probably place a lot of orders online. Over time, that adds up to be a lot of money when you're spending all that. Well, with Monarch Money, you can keep a close watch on all that spending in an easy-to-see, organized, and convenient presentation. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. We're also brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy this year. Me and Locked On Steelers listeners are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. It's a great time to play Yahoo Fantasy football. I've used Yahoo Fantasy for years, and the updates that they're rolling out this month are wild in the best way. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football, where in Yahoo, if the lowest team scoring team each week gets eliminated until there's one team left standing. With the season around the corner, it's now time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Go to yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL to make this fantasy season the best one yet, only with Yahoo Fantasy. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue our episode here, getting you ready for Steelers preseason. But before, I thought this was going to be all about, hey, matchups, and Travis Hunter and Trevor Lawrence and all this other stuff. Nope, we got to talk about Cam Heyward. Chris Boswell's also in this process, but Cam Heyward's, of course, is the big one here because both of them are apparently holding in. Those are things that were reported during the day on Thursday and not something that they particularly announced, which is very interesting because both of these guys are currently under contract and are being paid pretty well by the Steelers. But I thought it was interesting, especially for Cam Heyward. And Chris Boswell, I don't think is too big of a deal, though. The kicker money is not the big deal. The big deal is Cam Heyward, though, because Cam Heyward, he just renegotiated a deal or negotiated a deal last year where he was signed on to a 3-year extension. A lot of people thought the Steelers shouldn't do it, and that allowed him to stick with the team until he was 37 years old. It made sure that last year he made $12.6 million against the cap, and this year he counts as $19.6 million against the cap. The year after that, next year in 2026, he'll be 19.1 against the cap. And Cam Heyward, got that deal. He held in for a little bit last year, but he played ball. He showed up, and they got the deal done, and everyone seemed happy. But now Cam Heyward's not happy, and apparently, according to the sources being reported around the league about this, Cam Heyward just recognizes that the market has reset when it comes to defensive players, and that he wants his deal to reflect that he is one of the best defensive players in football, which he is. He's a first-team All-Pro defensive tackle. He continues to be a bad man in the middle of the Steelers' defense, and he proved it last year by getting back there. Now, a lot of people I see are very upset about this situation. They're saying, hey, you can't just get a raise and then go ask for another one, and you can't do that. Your boss is. If your boss don't want to give you a raise, you don't have to give you the raise, and that is true. But I think Cam Heyward's point is a little bit more about how the negotiations went down last time. Because if you remember last year when Cam Heyward was negotiating, there were a lot of people that said the Steelers shouldn't give him a deal because of his injury the year before. So last year, the 2024 season, in 2023, Cam Heyward suffered an early season injury, which sidelined him for quite a bit, made him not as effective. And then eventually, when he did get back, he did come back and he looked strong, but it wasn't the same Cam Heyward that you were used to. In 2023, he played 11 games and only got 2 sacks on the season. Not the numbers that you want to see from Cam Heyward when he was coming off of back-to-back seasons with double-digit sacks. And so there's a question. He's 34. He was 34 at the time. is this regression? I saw a lot of people playing doctor saying no player suffers an injury at 34 years old and returns to being a superstar. Well, he proved that wrong, and so he went and did that. And I think what Cam Heyward's saying right now is, I proved that wrong. I showed you guys that injury did not change my career trajectory. I'm still the Cam Heyward. And now basically without that season, he has 3 out of his last 4 seasons, he's at least gotten 8 sacks in each of those seasons. That's great for a defensive tackle. And he's also a huge run stuffer. And he's also the heart and soul of this team. He's the booming voice. He's the guy everyone gets behind. He's the guy that all these defensive linemen, the Steelers are hoping turn into a new core for them. And Keanu Benton and Derrick Harmon and Y.A. Black, we'll get to all those guys in the next segment because they're a big part of what I think is going to need to be seen in this preseason game. He's the guy they're all looking up to and saying, we want to be like him. Heck, before Derrick Harmon even arrived, when I talked to him at the combine, you remember the clips I used to play of him at the combine? I asked him, who did you study? He said Cam Heyward, because that's how he's built. That's what he wants to do. And he thinks that Cam Heyward and Chris Jones were the 2 best guys to do it. And they are built just like him. He's a guy that I get it. Cam Heyward has earned that. And I think what Cam Heyward's saying is like, look, last time when we did these negotiations, you were worried about me being injury prone. That's not the case. And to Cam's credit, in the last 4 years, he has played 17 games in 3 of those 4 years. And in fact, the last time he's played less than 15 games in the season before outside of 2023 was all the way back in 2016 when he missed half the year with an injury. So with that being said, I get Cam Heyward being like, I'm not injury prone. I'm still a top tier player. I deserve top tier money. And if you look at that, if you're thinking, okay, cool. Well, what is the average per year basis right now of Cam Heyward's contract? Now, according to the way overthecap.com measures it on the per cap or the per year basis of the player's current deal, he has a $14.5 million per year basis based off of an average per year. That rate ranks 22nd among interior defensive linemen. So you see why he is saying, nah, I want my money, because that is a big deal to not get paid that. And like, there's a lot of guys. You look at Milton Williams, Zach Allen, Nnamdi Madubuike. Now you can say maybe he's up in that range, but Aleem McNeil, Derek Brown, Quinnen Williams, Jeffrey Simmons, DeForest Buckner, Deron Payne, Dexter Lawrence. Now some of these guys, you could say, hey, they're up in the Cam category, but there's some of the guys you're like, he got paid because he hit free agency. And I think that's the thing is Cam Heyward saying like, hey, the market's not what it was before. I'm better than what we were negotiating for. I deserve that. And I think for the people that are like, I don't care about millionaires complaining about their millions, but I always try to look at it from the perspective of, as an employee, if I was making way much more money for the company that I'm working at, and I see that I'm being vastly underpaid for those services, I'd want a raise too. And I think it's your right to ask for a raise. And I think that's what he's doing with this hold-in. Now, I also want to make it clear, Cam Heyward has practiced in training camp. He's even swatted down passes. I even went to my Twitter. I'm like, I know I saw that man practice. So it's not like he's been holding out all the practices. And when I talk to Derrick Harmon and they tell me all the time about how, Cam is always in our ear. Heck, in 7 shots, I saw them kind of like group around him, and he was talking about what they needed to do in 7 shots to win that day. So Cam Heyward is very much like not stiff-arming the Steelers. He's not becoming a problem. I think Cam Heyward is just doing his own thing. He's working off to the side. Cam Heyward doesn't need to practice right now. Cam Heyward just needs to be in shape, continue to get in shape, get in better shape, the shape he needs to be, so that week 1 he is fresh, ready to go, and whooping tail. And I think that Cam Heyward has earned that right to be in that position with the things that he's given the Steelers. But I also think it should not be the prerogative of the Steelers it should not be the prerogative of people that like, hey, someone shouldn't ask for more money if they think they're worth it. Now, it's up to the organization between the Steelers and Cam Heyward to see, hey, what are you actually worth? Are we actually going to renegotiate this? Now, you're probably wondering, well, hey, he just negotiated a deal. What if everybody just starts renegotiating deals all the time? And then if the Steelers do this, then everyone's going to want a new deal. Like TJ Watt just got paid. We're going to want more money after this season than that. I think this is a little bit different, because I think in Cam Heyward's case, he's saying, hey, the rate that I'm being paid is significantly lower than where I rank in the league. TJ Watt right now even if Micah Parsons and Trey Hendrickson were both signed to some deals that beat out his average per year basis, TJ Watt would be then at least the third highest paid edge rusher in the NFL based off of a per year basis in the salary cap. And that I don't think TJ Watt would push, would pout about too much. What I do think he would is if he was the 12th or the 20th or the 22nd, as it looks like with Cam Heyward. And that's where I think that things could get tricky for this situation. Or it's not tricky. I think that's why this situation is different than these other situations, because I do think that Cam Heyward has a point here with, hey, I'm worth more than this. The reason we negotiated is because you were worried about my health. I showed you my health isn't an issue. I played in every single game. I even played through a flu at the end of the season. I'd like my pay to reflect that. Now, again, I think he has every right to ask for that. Now, does he have the right to get it? That's not how that works. I think it's going to be about negotiation and trying to figure that out. But I think that the Steelers could get off with the caveat if they do give him a pay boost, saying like, hey, Cam, or hey world. You're probably wondering if you're a random player out there thinking you can just hold in all the time every year until you get a raise. Cam Heyward's different. Cam Heyward is our captain. He's been the guy that has been with our team since 2011, and that is a different level of respect that he has. And I think that that's where this could work out in Cam Heyward's favor, in that they give him like a small bump in pay. It doesn't have to be. I don't think he has to be the top 3 paid guys, but maybe move him into the top 10 and get him there. And that would be a matter of maybe $5 million a year. The Steelers have the cap space to do something like that. And they could probably, if they did this, they'd probably open up some more cap space right now so that they could use that money to go maybe get Amari Cooper or whoever they want to get in the trade market or in free agency or anything like that. But I don't think this is some egregious, ungrateful move by Cam Heyward. Is it annoying? Sure. Because even for me, I was kind of like, man, I was really hoping to just focus on the preseason game and not have to talk about contract stuff anymore, because I much prefer just talking about football. But at the same time, I tell people I'm not going to get on somebody for trying to make their money. Make your money with you guys. If you think you're worth more, go for that. And I root for him because I feel the same way about me being employed. If I feel like I'm undervalued, I'm gonna state that. So I think that that's not as bad of a deal. But I also understand the Steelers' position. They're like, hey, Cam, we paid you, buddy. You're set for life, buddy. You got it. So it's gonna be interesting to see how does Omar Khan play ball with Cam Heyward in this situation, if he does play ball at all. Because to me, there's this would be an interesting precedent set here, or if it would be sort of just an outlier instead of precedent for future contracts. All those factors I think play into it. But bottom line is, I think that this is going to end up being fine. I think Cam Heyward's going to end up playing this season for the Steelers, and it'll be fine and dandy. I think the Steelers could also afford to just be like, hey, Cam, we'll give you some more guaranteed money. We'll flip something your way, but we want you in the fold. And I think that ultimately this will work out. Just like I told you all that the TJ Watt situation would work out. Just like last year when I told you all that the Cam Heyward situation would work out. I think this one, like those, will work out, as will the Chris Boswell situation. So with that being said, let's get back to talk about some football and talk about this upcoming preseason game and the things I'm most excited to see. We'll see that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink minus the alcohol into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off of it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I'm not a golfer, but I do feel on my game when I go to Topgolf and I'm able to hit that back net with my driver. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The great ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order Transfusion, flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue this episode here today. Now, let's get back into what I want to see here. One, I think it's very interesting. The Jaguars look like they're playing all their ones, and that's going to be interesting. Travis Hunter is going to play. I want to see Travis Hunter because apparently he's going to play wide receiver and corner. That's going to be fun to see. I loved watching Travis Hunter in college. Fantastic player. I thought he was crazy for saying all that stuff about he's going to play both sides in the NFL. He's trying it out, so this is going to be a spectacle to watch. So I'm fascinated by that. But as far as the Steelers side of things, I think it's going to be, there's still a lot of things that also fascinate me as well. Like I said before, the trenches. That is going to be my biggest attention thing there. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, they need to be able to run the ball. Caleb Johnson's going to be back there. They're protecting Mason Rudolph. So this, and eventually Skylar Thompson. The Steelers also signed Logan Woodside as a temporary quarterback camp arm while Will Howard recovers. I also think it's interesting that Mike Tomlin said there's, quote unquote, certainly a chance that Will Howard could return in time for at least the last preseason game. That'd be great to see because I think Will Howard's looked good in camp. Not franchise quarterback good, just backup quarterback good only. And I think that that's just fine for where he is. This is for all you Will Howard crazy people who think that he's the second coming of Jesus. But anyways, getting back to what I'm saying here, I think the trenches are the biggest thing. That Will Howard stuff cracks me up, man. People be just wilding over. It's a meme at this point. But the offensive line, I think, is going to be a big thing to watch there. Broderick Jones, how does he do? Because now I'm seeing him practice better. How does he actually hold up when opponents are facing? Because if you remember last year, I watched a joint practice between him and the Bills. I watched him whoop Gregory Rousseau up and down the field. And then preseason game happened. I watched Gregory Rousseau whoop Broderick Jones up and down the field. So I was just like, guess that was a one-time thing. But I want to see if he can do this in a game setting. That'll be really interesting to see there, as well as Fautano, because we didn't get to see a whole lot of him. McCormick and Frazier as a pair, all of those things. You want to see synergy grow between that group. But the group that I think I'm even more excited than the offensive line to see is this defensive line, because they have been moving people. And I keep talking to people about these guys. Derrick Harmon looks really good. He looks like he's ready to be a first-year rookie starter. I mean, this dude could be a monster in the middle of the defense. And like he is moving guys, he's getting after it. I even seen some really clean pass rush moves that he's exhibited right now. And that's not even what they need right now. They just need run stuffers. They need guys that are going to just plug the holes, not keep the linebackers clean and play well there. I'm excited about that. And then of course, like I've been saying with Cam Heyward out, Yahoo Black has become the first defensive lineman to come off the bench now. So Yahoo Black might start this game, and that's the dude that I'm really, really excited to see. Not that I'm not really excited to see Derrick Harmon, but Yahoo Black was the dude that I did not think would be getting significant playing time this year. I thought he was going to be the really big guy they throw in and on occasional like goal line situations, and he would be interesting to see how he did. No, he is active. He is moving around the D-line. He's stunting. He's moving here, moving there. He's using his big size. He's quick off the ball. He is aggressive. In fact, I saw Tyson Alualu, former Steelers defensive lineman, at training camp, and I asked him his opinion on him, and he was like, that guy should not be able to move at the size that he's moving. And so I thought that was really interesting stuff from him as well. But that group is fascinating. Keanu Benton has looked good. Dan Aquali's looked good. It's funny. Dan Aquali, I think, has looked good in a very quiet way. Like, he's very physical. He's very forceful off the ball. But I'm just like, sorry, Dan, I'm too busy looking at this like 6'7" behemoth dude from Iowa who's just moving everyone out of his way. And this Derrick Harmon guy who looks like he's got at least 3 years of experience on him by how comfortable he looks on the defensive line. I am so intrigued by this group. And even the guys right behind them, because Patrick Queen is going to be sitting out this preseason game, which means Peyton Wilson gets the green dot, and it's going to be interesting to see how fast can he play when he's relaying everything. I asked him about that. A few of us asked him about green dot responsibilities and about how the defensive line's been playing with him. Here's Peyton Wilson, and I think it's really interesting to hear this guy talk. The more and more he plays and he talks, the more and more I think Steelers fans are really going to like this guy. Here was Peyton Wilson after practice on Thursday.
With PQ being sidelined today, did you do a lot of the green dot kind of practice on the field today?
Yeah, I mean, I had it today. I was the one making the calls in the huddle and setting the defense and stuff. But obviously both linebackers set the defense, but in a game there's only allowed one green dot, so that's when a little bit more hectic, a little bit more pressure is added.
Is it a challenge to play fast when you are the green dot guy because there's so much more like thinking that you have to do in that communication role?
No, I don't think so. I think if you have the green dot, you should know the defense like the back of your hand. you should have the confidence because you know that your coaches have the confidence in you to just make the call, line up, and still play the same speed.
When we talked to Patrick Queen, he talked to us about how he gave a lot of credit to Y.A. Black, Derrick Harmon, a lot of the young defensive linemen for keeping you guys clean. That's not something a lot of young defensive linemen know how to do. What can you say about the D-line and keeping you clean in these contact practices so that you can fly around?
Yeah, we have a very, very big D-line, if you can't tell, especially YA. He's like that scoreboard up there. But, they've been amazing, especially the young guys, the way they came in. They've learned. I mean, Derrick runs with the ones every single practice. And, you wouldn't be able to tell he's a rookie if, you've been out here forever, So those guys have been doing well. And like PQ said, those guys, they keep us clean so we can fly around and make plays.
It's an underrated part of the role of the defensive lineman. I keep saying a big part of what Casey Hampton did for James Ferrier, Larry Foote, and Lawrence Timmons, along with Aaron Smith, they kept those guys clean so that they could attack the run and take that away. That's something the Steelers really haven't had outside of Cam Heyward for the past few years, and I think it's shown in the run defense, and it's something that has to happen this year. They have to be really good at that, but they also have to bully some of these guys as well. They also need to help in several different ways, and they're helping. Like Derrick Harmon, he's also getting after the quarterback with some of his good pass rushes. He's also taking on double teams. He's also clearing out space for other guys, and he's creating lanes. Both and Y.A. Black, I think that we may need to come up with a nickname for it because he is swatting down everything out here. He is just swatting passes left and right. Aaron, I think he's at least swatted more than 10 passes in practices right now. And not just in one-on-one drills where it's been like him against, a one offensive lineman and then a quarterback throws the ball behind them. No, in team drills, he continues to swat down passes from not just Mason Rudolph, but also Aaron Rodgers. And it's like he pushes his guy back, he gets in a good spot, and then he just kind of, if he sees he can't get to the quarterback, he just holds up, waits to see if the ball comes his way, puts his hand up, and most of the time he knocks the ball down. And it's got to be annoying for quarterbacks because he has extremely long arms. So I'm intrigued to see his physicality, Derrick Harmon's physicality and his moves, Dan Aquale to fit in there. I think all of those guys are really, and then you still have guys like Isaiah Loudermilk and Dean Lowry's out for the season, but Logan Lee, who I think has had some good moments. And also they brought back Braden Fajoko. This defensive line could be a lot of fun to watch. And so I'm excited to see them. Jack Sawyer is also another guy I'm excited to see. I got to say, Jack Sawyer has overperformed what I've expected in training camp. I thought he was purely a run stuffer, and that's all he was going to be this year, but he's winning some pass rush reps. I want to see how he plays while Alex Highsmith most likely sits out because he hasn't practiced. TJ Watt's sitting out, Nick Herbig's sitting out. So Jack Sawyer might be your top edge rusher in this preseason game. I want to see how he does with this group as well. But I think there's a lot of good things coming from this group right now. I think there's a lot of really good things from these young guys that are at least makes it interesting to see. It doesn't mean that they're definitely going to work out. Doesn't mean that they're already ready to go. But this is an exciting preseason opportunity because there's a lot of times that I've covered preseason games for the Steelers where there wasn't a lot to be excited about because the team was very top heavy with their veterans. And a lot of these younger guys were just meh guys that you knew that were just kind of around to fill out the roster and be there. But this depth chart, I think, is full of a lot more young and up-and-coming talent that is going to be very interesting to watch, even at the cornerback position. Brandon Echols is a new addition that they have there. I don't expect Corey Trice to play because he hasn't been practicing a lot lately, but Beanie Bishop, I think, has been stepping into the slot role again well, and he's going to not be a starter, but he's fighting for a spot as well. James Pierre, I thought, has had some great practices so far. We'll probably see Chuck Clark at safety, as well as Juan Thornhill, Deshaun Elliott sitting out. I'm going to get to see a lot of these different guys and how they fit, and that's also including the offensive side of the ball. Roman Wilson continues to have really good practices. There's a lot of excitement to go around, y'all. There's a legitimate reason to be excited to watch some preseason football, and not just for the starters who are sitting out, and not just for the first team that's going to go out there that's going to be off the field in probably 2 drives, but because there's depth on this team, and there's depth to be excited to see. Can they turn into real depth in the season? We'll review all of that after the game right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Thanks again for tuning into the Locked On Steelers podcast. You can read all my work in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by going to post-gazette.com, including my Skinny Post article that's about the Steelers passing offense taking over the middle part of the field and what it could mean for the Steelers this year. You can also check me out right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. You can also check me out on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, all the social media handles, all the same place at Carter Critiques. And we'll see you again here on the Locked On Steelers podcast Saturday night after their first preseason game against the Jaguars.